About a month ago, I wrote a community post asking you guys to tell me some of your theories/headcanons about the stories of Sodor by Victor Tanzig so that I would make a video about it, kind of like what the Thomas Cynic did. And I think now I have enough theories to do that video. So today, I'm going to be going Thomas Cynic mode by talking about headcanons/theories fans of the stories of Sodor have about the stories of Sodor. Thomas Fisher has a theory that isn't really a theory, but really a truth. He confirmed this via an email that a Twitter user posted. Yes, of course, you all know it. I'm talking about the theory that Thomas is actually alive and is in a green water coma. Thomas Fisher also said that he thinks that he should return before Tramway Engines is published, because if you didn't know, Wilbur Awdry wanted Duke the Lost Engine to be the final book in the Railway series, but the publishers told him to write another book about Thomas. And in the Stories of Sodor universe, Awdry must have seen this as an opportunity to write a book in honor of Thomas's return. James Production 05 says that Thomas would be rescued by Edward or Toby, but I'm personally not sure how that would work out. Perhaps maybe if Edward or Toby would take a train to Barry Island and they would stumble upon Thomas and the two engines would make a grand escape, then maybe that would happen, but I don't see any other reason how. Wardhouse TV, aka Adam Ward, to say his full name, has a theory on Oliver. He says that he is possibly going to die in season 6 and 7. That's because in the finale to season 4, Return, Douglas tells Brian about when he and Thomas were making their way back to their platoon with Oliver in Germany, although they don't know exactly why Oliver was there in the first place. As Edward said, it was classified. Later, in a troublesome engine, Edward says that Oliver and Toad's mission was partly declassified in 1987, where they were apparently assigned to a task force to track a special train the Nazis had created. He then said that was all he knew and that Oliver had only said that dodgy intelligence sent him and Toad to the wrong area. Wardhouse TV sees it that when Edward says, the word ever may have a bigger meaning, he's trying to say that Oliver is going to die in either season 6 or 7. But he isn't sure. Personally, I'm not sure how to feel about this theory. I personally like to believe that when Oliver said that Oliver and Toad's mission was partly declassified in 1987, I think Edward meant to say 1937, because how can the Nazis be around if they ended in 1945? How can they still be around in 1987? And in 1987, shouldn't Oliver be on Sodor? Wasn't he bought for the little western? What, did he leave Sodor to do some other mission? That just doesn't make much sense to me. I personally believe that Edward meant to say 1937 instead of 1987. My good friend Thomas Taken Play 24 says that he thinks a new branch line would be open, either the one to Kirk Ronan or Ulfstead Castle, or maybe even both. And that the Peel-Godred branch line engines are relocated there because the Peel-Godred line is turned into an electric line. I personally think that's really interesting, and it is actually an idea that he had made for our ideas video for Stories of Sodor Season 6, which I highly recommend watching. Jeffrey Stoddard has a headcanon for the aftermath of Thomas's death. He says that after Thomas died, he gets reborn into a completely new engine that is faceless at first, but the people at Day Out with Thomas decided to modify it to be a Thomas look-alike. And when they learn of the reincarnation and that the engine is actually Thomas, he is sent back to Sodor, and the number one engine is back. I think that's a pretty fascinating theory. Caledonian Twins Productions has a theory that Eric is going to die, because in branch lines, Edward says, which he thinks means he couldn't go ask Eric because he died. Train Boy Productions simply says that Stepney is going to be Thomas's replacement. And I think that's pretty fitting. Though the replacement would most likely be Ginty, presumably with a better name like Jimmy, for instance, or how about a female name like Jenny, I don't know. Something that would be better than Ginty, cause Ginty, okay, we get he's a bloody Ginty, give him an actual name. And I know what you're gonna say, oh, what about Diesel? Oh, Jesus, that's hilarious. And with Diesel being Diesel's actual name in the TV series, Railway series, and other fan content, well, I'm so used to it that I actually don't quite mind it now. And now, finally, time for one of my personal theories. And it's related to Thomas and Kate's relationship. Now, remember that Stories of Sodor Discussion that only like 78 of you watched and it's already been 2 f***ing months? Well, in that video, I say that Thomas and Kate have never, ever, ever called each other love or my love or even said I love you to one another on screen. And Thomas hasn't done that either. Well, my theory on Thomas is that he is actually afraid to be romantic around Kate in public because he thinks that others will laugh at him for his relationship. Now I know what you're all gonna say. Oh, but he was romantic around Kate in Parade with Percy, and he was pretty romantic. Like, he probably said some romantic stuff in Railgate when Bertie was around in Shunted. Yeah. Oh my God. But Thomas was only romantic with Kay around Percy and Bertie because they are very close friends of his. As for armaments, when James says that Kay is a distraction to Thomas and vice versa, well, let's just say that Kate was the extremely romantic one and Thomas was simply trying his best to catch up, let's say. Okay, so here I was going to do a comedy sketch or something, in the same style as the Trampy movies by, you guessed it, Trampy. In this, it was basically what I said earlier. Kay was the extremely romantic one, and Thomas was just trying his best to catch on. But I decided to remove that skit because I don't know if some people would be okay with it, let's say. Would probably be a little cringe, and I don't want dislikes on my videos, even if sometimes it's inevitable because some people just probably don't like the video. Criticism is normal, so yeah. But in order to avoid criticism, I'm gonna just cut that comedy sketch, but yeah, cut that shit. Anyway, and there's actually some proof behind this theory. In this shot from affection, you can see Thomas and Kate together, and it looks like they're having a romantic time. Now, I use this to describe, you know what I said, Kate being romantic and Thomas was trying his best to catch up. But I've had a closer look, and there's no engine anywhere, so maybe they're just, doing what a couple would do. An engine couple, anyway. Out of context, this is so hilarious. I'm sorry, but in Parade, there is a scene with Thomas and Kate at the sheds, and it looks like they're alone, and Thomas has this horny-ass expression, so yeah, I guess this is one of their romantic moments. I don't think I've ever laugh this much during a fucking recording. But laughter aside, I think you can all get the idea. I think you all get what I'm trying to say. Regardless, I think Thomas and Kate prefer to have their romantic moments alone and not with other engines around. The second theory that I have, because I have 3 theories that I want to talk about, is a theory on Barry, and that is the fact that there are actually 2 Barrys. Yes, I said it. 2 Barrys. That sounds so outlandish, but hear me out on this one. So Barry, before season 5 and in season 5, they have 2 different models. I think you can all tell by the facial expressions. But something that I haven't seen anyone notice is that Barry sounds completely different in the SCPs of Sodor prologue than in season 5. See, I don't think I've ever seen anyone talk about that. So, that gives me the theory that there are actually 2 Barrys because the first Barry died. And Barry got basically the Arthur treatment. How did Barry die? Well, train theory said that this whole steam diesel convention thingy causes steam engines to blow up, kind of. It's fatal flaw, basically, or something like that. And maybe the first Barry got that, and so maybe Barry number 2 is the Barry shown in SCPs of Sodor prologue. Maybe there's some truth to that, maybe not, but yeah, again, it does sound very, very outlandish on paper, but yeah. And the third theory is that Jeffrey, Mickey, and Peter, 3 characters that died in season 5, are going to get the Arthur treatment, as well as Barry. Why? Because in the season 1 intro, Mickey is seen with Jeff, but Jeff wasn't introduced yet, and Mickey died. In Non-Faces vehicles, Peter is seen with James, Patrick, and Bear, despite the fact that Peter died and Bear and Patrick weren't introduced yet. And in the season 3 intro, Jeffrey is seen with Barry, in quotation marks, but Jeffrey died, so yeah, they must have gotten the Arthur treatment. Now, yes, the explanation is that Victor hadn't thought of their deaths yet, and your average viewer wouldn't think that hard about it. But I personally have this theory. And so, that was the theory video. Thank you all for watching, and if you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Bye!